Well, Anthony, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program to talk about this weird story out of Garner, North Carolina.
My pleasure, Cam. Hope everything's going well with you today.
It is. Boy, this is a strange one down there in Garner. Now, we first ran across this story last night, and the story that we saw, the Garner police have cited Perry Whitaker for violating the town's gun ordinance for shooting at a Prowler on Wednesday. Said officers responded to a break-in in progress at a home. Whitaker told them one of the Prowlers had fired a shot at him, and he returned fire with his shotgun. The two suspects then jumped in a vehicle and fled. The NBC 17 says, despite the fact he was trying to protect himself, police cited Whitaker for violating the gun ordinance. They say there is no self-defense exception in Gardner's gun ordinance. Only a local law enforcement officer may fire a weapon within town limits, according to the local code. Now, Anthony, before we even get to what the law is in North Carolina, the story is now changing, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's the latest here?
Well, now the latest update omits, or the article on the NBC 17 website omits any mention of the gentleman being fired upon. It states that there is a self-defense exception in Garner's gun ordinance, so they got that part right. Finally, but it says, according to police, Whitaker was not defending his own property. So they're implying that he's not allowed to use a firearm to defend another person's property. But the ordinance itself contradicts that. It says that the provision of this section shall not be construed to prohibit the lawful discharge of a firearm by any lawful officer in the discharge of his duty or by any person in the lawful defense of persons and property. Not his property, just defending property.
Wow. Now, I've also noticed, Anthony, that the news story here, which seems to have just replaced the old one. And we could have a discussion about journalistic ethics and just swapping stories out at a later date. But this news story doesn't mention anything at all about the individual who Perry Whitaker being shot at.
No, exactly. And interesting also is that the old story quoted a neighbor, or referenced a neighbor, saying that he said there were two guys prowling around a vacant home, and he said there was an exchange of shots fired.
Mm-hmm.
Now the news story doesn't mention this guy at all.
Well, this is curiouser and curiouser, Anthony. Now, again, you say you've looked at the ordinance in the town of Garner, and it mentions using your firearm for defense of self or property,
well,
or defense of basically persons or property.
Yeah, persons or property. He doesn't have to be defending himself. He could be defending another, and it doesn't say anything about him having to be defending his own property. Apparently, the property in question, according to the news article, was a foreclosed home. So who knows what these individuals were up to? I mean, going in there trying to steal copper wiring or do whatever they may be doing. Clearly, they weren't there legally.
Yeah. Now, the fact that the paper or the NBC 17, the latest story, at least as of 5 o'clock Eastern time today, it could change by tonight.
Exactly.
They say the mayor, police chief, and town manager of Garner, North Carolina, planning to meet this afternoon to discuss this incident. Now, typically, Anthony, you don't have the mayor, the police chief, and the town manager get together to talk about what amounts to a, even if this person is arrested, what amounts to a misdemeanor.
Right.
So I'm guessing they're thinking, what do we do?
Yeah, I would guess that they're getting some heat on this. I'm thinking that people initially called them on the quote about not being able to use a firearm for self-defense within the town.
Yeah.
That was probably the first warning shot, so to speak. And I'm guessing that they're starting to sort of scramble and try to cover their behinds.
Now, would would you get involved? Would NRA get involved at all in this?
Well, I don't know. We if there's a legal case, this gentleman certainly could try to contact us. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the issue is regarding us injecting ourselves into a situation if we're not asked. But
right.
If he asks us, certainly there's the possibility that we may want to get involved. And again, it seems pretty clear that the ordinance allows for this, at least as the places the incident has been revealed to me from the paper. It seems that the ordinance allows for this kind of action. Obviously, we'd have to wait for a full investigation, but it seems, like I said, the folks in the town, the officials, are scrambling to cover themselves.
Yeah, well, we're going to follow this story, Anthony, and I look forward to talking to you about it more as we get more developments.
I look forward to that too. And real quickly, this also sort of coincides with what we've done at the state level legislatively. We've recently passed the Castle Doctrine law in North Carolina. It doesn't go in effect till December 1st, but that certainly would have some bearing on this. I don't think that it can be applied retroactively, but I would imagine that this is certainly the type of situation that the legislature envisioned when they decided they wanted to ensure that people would be able to use the force they deem necessary to protect themselves and their property.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, you nailed it with this, because we hear our opponents say all the time, well, there's no reason for the Castle Doctrine legislation. It really doesn't even matter. And look, I mean, here, as you say, this is a perfect example of why laws like this do matter, because you shouldn't be arrested. You shouldn't be facing 30 days in jail for using a firearm in defense of yourself or property.
Exactly.
Well, Anthony, thank you again, sir, and keep us updated, will you?
Will do.
All right, Anthony Roulette, NRA ILA's North Carolina liaison, joining us here tonight on Cam & Company.